This conference will now be recorded.
Got it. Thanks.
I know,
Thanks,
I'm the worst. Okay, it is 6:02, and we'll call the zoning board meeting for May 21st, 2024 to order. The first thing we have on the agenda is, I think two of us need to be sworn in, Pat?
Have you been sworn in?
I have not. Not since, we haven't done anything since our conversation.
Second, because I was told that you were.
Yep, that's fine.
Let me just print it out and I'll be fine.
Okay. And then we want to do officer elections first. We gotta do a chair, vote for a chair and vice chair again and re-up that. So any nominations? Guess we can keep moving while she hunts for paperwork. If everybody's comfortable with that.
I think we need to have confirmation that people
Okay,
are.
sounds good.
are-
We can, we'll wait patiently.
Brian, do you have a copy of the March minutes?
Yes. March and February's.
I got February, but I don't see the March ones. Wait. Got them both.
Okay.
Yeah, this month. What's that?
The document should be on file
What's that?
for the swearing in, unless there's an additional swearing in.
My term ended. So I had to get resworn.
So it's you, me, and,
No, I think just the two of us.
okay, just the two
We
of
all,
us.
we all have different terms.
So this would be Jim and
Okay.
Matt. You raise your right hand. Say your name after I,
Aye.
James.
Jim.
Oh, are we doing this both at the same
Matt.
time?
Jim and Matt. Yep.
Okay. Matt Gilman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties
and perform all the duties
incumbent on me
incumbent on me
as a zoning board member
as a zoning board member
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of this Constitution
of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire,
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. We are a full board.
Now we're full.
We need to do chair and vice chair. Are there any nominations for that?
Sure, I'll nominate Matt Gilman to be chair.
I'll second the nomination.
All right. Made and seconded. Any discussion on it? Sure. Sounds good.
All those in favor?
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. A nomination for vice chair. Make a motion that we continue having Brian Pease as the vice chair.
I'll second that.
Made and seconded. Any discussion on it? Everybody good to vote? Those in favor, vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
That has, ayes have it. We have made our officers and they'll maintain the same.
Okay.
If you guys are on board, move the minutes to the end of the meeting, just in the interest of everyone's time. to
Sure.
Take care of that later. Our first case, ZB 24-01, has moved to June 18th, so we won't be doing that tonight. And then our first case tonight then will be ZB 24-05, A.E. Mitchell for 355 Laconia Road.
Point of order. We need to have a vote to continue it.
I believe we have to have a vote, or do they just rescind it?
No, vote to
Okay.
continue.
Any motions to,
I'll make a
Accept the
motion to
continuance.
continue it.
Tim's made a motion to continue case 24-01,
I'll second it.
seconded by Chuck. Any discussion on it? Sounds good. Those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The ayes have it. We will continue 24-01 to June. Thank you, Jim, for catching that. Now for real, 24-05. For real. Did we get an answer about reading of the application into the record? There was some, what's the word I want to say? Disagreement about whether that was required or not at our last meeting. And if it's not required, it is a huge time saver. Yeah.
I wasn't aware with it, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I will find that out tomorrow and email you all.
Is everybody comfortable forgoing reading the entire application of the record tonight?
Yep, until we have an answer. Yes.
Yeah.
That unanimously, we're good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So just for clarification, we used to have you read the entire application to the record, and it was incredibly time consuming.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that we can describe what you have going on without doing that. And if there are any questions, we can obviously address them. But if you would just say who you are, where you're from, and give us a description of what's going on.
Yep. Thank you. Just the color version of everything.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just for clarification, everybody, there's a typo on the agenda. This is for a special exception, not a variance.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm John Roque with Roque Consulting. I'm here on behalf of my client, AE Mitchell Corp. Actually, it's these properties are owned by Route 106 Realty Trust, and then he has a second entity that owns one of the lots. But he's the sole owner of all three lots. And the way we're processing this is we're going through the special exception process for self-storage. Before we go to the planning board, before we do like the full design. Once we get into if we have the special exception and we go through the design process, then obviously all the lots would be merged together as part of a final approval. It'd be premature to merge everything before we even get it in through any sort of the process with the town of Tilton. If there was for some reason any roadblocks with it, you would have to re-subdivide everything off at the end. Once it, if for some reason it didn't go forward. So that's the reason why there's basically three, I believe I put it together as three applications, just so you guys you knew exactly how everything was working and go from there. These parcels, it had gone through, I don't know if it actually came to the planning board before, but it was developed as a Freedom Honda at one point. They were looking at developing this parcel back probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. They had negotiated an easement with the abutting property owner. So this is actually a deeded out on Route 3. There's existing curb cut right in the center of the site. It's right at the top of the Oh, thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Yep. It's on, right? Yep. So what I was saying is there's a deeded right of way to access Route 3 through this area on the abutting parcel. There's also the existing curb cut right on the center of the site, just so everybody knows that. We also have frontage on Noyes Road. The way we're looking at doing the property, we would not end up using that any access onto that road though. Everything would come through whatever our final access point is on Route 106. I keep saying 106, I apologize. Route 3. So what we looked at was the zoning regulations, and for self-storage use in the RC zone, it's listed as a special exception that we come to the zoning board before we move forward with any sort of site plan application. What we're proposing is, I'll walk around again. What we're proposing for the site is one large 2-story self-storage building. And this is actually, if you're familiar with this, it's actually it drops down and away from the road. So it's 2 stories. So when you drive in, you're basically driving right at grade up into the upper story, and then you can come around and drive into the lower part of this building from the lower story. The rest of the buildings that we have laid out here are basically just traditional self-storage, regular units with garage doors down each side of the building, and some smaller units on the ends. And then the building in the back only has the garage doors in the front, and it backs up to what we'll have for drainage. We talked to Eversource about the easement that runs through the property. We had some earlier concepts where we were trying to actually do some storage inside the easement, and they didn't want us to do any of that. So before we ever made an application to the town, we've kind of worked that out with them a little bit, where we can pass through the easement, but we can't have anything in the easement at all. So that's the reason why you see a big green area through the middle of the site. And then over on this side, we're basically going to do an open storage, like a paved open storage area with drainage down below it. And that would be an area for stacking portable containers. This would require an alteration of terrain permit. There's a little bit of wetlands on the site right down in this area. We're not showing impacting it right now. We depending upon how the application goes with the state of New Hampshire, if we move forward with everything, that might come up. But on this concept plan, it has not been impacted yet. In terms of utilities, I mean, it's on a state highway, so there's really no impact to the town on the access to the site. We would have at least some bathroom facility in the main building, the larger building. So there would be a small septic and well, but it would not be really a big commercial use. So it'd be just in case somebody is at the site and needs somewhere to go, they would have a bathroom to go to. So in terms of utilities, there's just electric into everything. It's going to be climate controlled self-storage. So in terms of utilities, it's pretty minor for everything for this site. In terms of like the normal emergency services being called to the site, there probably would be a very rare case that would ever happen. In terms of the police, my client Al Mitchell has self-storage facilities in Belmont, and he has everything set up with electronic surveillance on everything. And he's tied in with the police department in Belmont, and they have access to all the cameras. So it's actually worked really well. So this would be set up similar to that. I guess if you have any questions about what we're looking at doing, otherwise let me know how you guys want to do it. If you want me to go read through criteria or questions about the site in general, or
we'll go through the criteria.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. Questions,
Yep.
please. Whenever you're ready, Chuck. Go ahead, Chuck.
Oh, on the questions, Chuck Mitchell. First of all, will all the buildings be climate controlled? Or just the big main 2-story building?
The main building for sure, and probably, or walk away. The main building for sure, and maybe this one also, because this one it has larger bays in this building, but these are more just traditional where there's garage doors on each one of them. So these would maybe unlikely be climate controlled.
I noticed that in doing my tallying earlier, if your original proposal had been correct, not including the large building, which I think is kind of massive, almost 42,000 square feet on each level. On those other buildings below, those totaled up to about over 207. They total about 217 storage units. Now, in this large building, which is almost 42,000 square feet per floor, that would be, over 83,000 square feet. Now, how many storage units are there planned in that building?
That one, sorry. That one would likely be similar to some of the vault self-storage where there might be motorhomes in there or something like that. So it'd be hard to put a count. It's mostly going to be open parking in there instead of enclosed storage units. For motorhomes, boats, fancy cars, things like that is what is intended to be in that building.
Okay, I guess I'm just a little bit curious because if you're talking about a two-story building, and probably the only one with the drive-in access would be the lower unit, that's going to have pretty high ceiling if you're talking about bringing in motorhomes and things like
No,
that.
there's two access points. When you come in the lower side, you can come in the gate, depending upon how he finishes off the building design, but you could come in the lower access point here, or you could drive right in the upper level right here.
So there would not be an entry between the building and the road on the upper level.
No, there wouldn't be any entry there. You would drive, if you're going to be on the upper level, you would come in the site, you would drive up through that entrance right into the building, and the only way out would be back out that same entrance.
Okay. Can you also describe with your access point now not being on Noyes Road, but being on Route 3, how far over the knoll is that? Because that we do know, and I've driven that road many times, that very often the average speed of cars going along that road is about 50 miles an hour. And if you've got cars going in and out slightly over the knoll, that's going to be quite a hazard.
Yep. So the reason why we have everything shown this way is this is exactly the way the Freedom Honda plan was put together, and this is the reason why this access point was put there. I've talked with the state of New Hampshire, and they know that this easement exists. They had not actually issued. I thought they had, from what I was told by the owner, that a driveway permit had been issued at this location before, but the easements and everything was set up for it, but then Freedom Honda didn't go forward. So the final permits never actually got issued. But this is something that we're going to have to work out, that we would have to work out with the state of New Hampshire. We're showing that we have access to this area. And if for some reason they say, no, you have to be right at the top of the knoll, then our plan will have to change a little bit based on that. But we're here asking for the use this evening so we can move forward with trying to put together a plan and get real permits to go to the planning board.
I have one question for you. I know the large building is a 2-story building.
Yep.
Is it 2-story towards Route 3 and 3 stories on the back?
No.
One story
towards Route 3, and then it drops down into the site and down lower. Yep.
Okay.
So it will not look like the vault storage in Belmont on 106.
Question, Steve?
What's your proposed height on the building if you're going to be putting motorhomes on both levels?
I believe we're at I think we can be at the 35-foot level.
5 foot
Yep.
from the rear of the building?
Yes.
Where the parking lot is,
Yep.
not the grass in the front?
Correct.
The 35 foot?
Yes. I believe that's what your limit is in the town of Tilton. I don't think you guys have any zone that allows for 60.
I don't want to give you a number because I don't want to be wrong.
Right.
Yep.
But it is a little bit wonky where it's measured. So on a building like this, it would be measured from the rear of the building.
Yep.
Not the road side of the building.
Right.
Yep. And sometimes there's the average of the building, like you have to go around all 4 corners and
Right.
get an average. But
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this is lowest point to highest point from grade. And we
Okay.
had a case that dealt with this exact issue. And I think that you're right that it's 40, but please don't quote me.
Right.
I'm not positive.
Okay.
That's the only one?
So you don't have a specific drive-through on the second level?
No, there's not. When you go in, you'll have circulation within the upper level, and then there'll be a drive out.
Okay, and there'll be turning radiuses for the vehicles inside the
Correct.
building?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, at the size I mean, if you think about the size that we're doing, it's all like almost an acre inside. So there's room to turn around.
Yeah, but some of those
Yep. No, I mean, once it gets,
motorhomes are
yeah,
quite large
yes, correct.
and with a large turning radius.
Yep.
Okay.
Guys, good if we go to public comment?
Sure.
Yeah. We're comfortable with that? Is there any public comment? Yep, please. You just have to speak who you are and, you know, what your relation is, that kind of thing.
Do I just sign it? Go
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shelby Kilmister. I live at 19 Wolf Road, so our property backs up across the railroad tracks. So I guess I have a few concerns. I assume this would be accessible to people 24 hours a day, and there would be lights that could come and, you know, obviously disrupt our quiet home that's in a nice private area with trees and wildlife. And so I have some concerns about, you know, I understand development but there's literally nothing left to that property. They're cutting, looks like pretty much every tree will be cut down, and there's like no privacy left from that property to ours, which as now there's trees and animals and it's quiet. So I guess I'm just wondering, is that a factor? Is that something that can be discussed, that maybe it doesn't need to be, you know, so much of the property, that, you know, keep it more natural? I think that's something that people value in this town, that we aren't just building up a huge, you know, area for just business purposes, that there's people that have lived here a long time and love our homes and, you know, don't want to just see it be cars and people constantly in and out and, you know, lights everywhere. So I guess that's my biggest concern as a neighbor.
So, I mean, I don't know, this might be a planning thing. You might be able to point us better. There's absolutely ways where they can restrict the amount of lumens that the lights develop, the hours that the lights can come on. There's an avenue for that. I'm not totally sure. There might be a planning avenue, Pat, if I'm not mistaken, than opposed to zoning board avenue.
Okay. I just didn't know what.
But the short answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Plantings.
And plantings, that is something we've done at this board, is some vegetation barriers. So for sure there is room for discussion there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
How you guys doing? I'm Brian with U-Haul. And I just want some clarity if it's either warehousing or self-storage we're doing in that front building, because it's really unique to what they're trying to say. I don't know if this has to pertain to you or the planning board as far as the DOT on that driveway to make sure that it's sizable for Route 3. And also the water retention on that property. You know, obviously you guys know we're building across the street. We've had to do our water retention, which has been pretty intensive. And I want to make sure it's fair grounds for everybody. And I don't know if that's you or the planning board, but I wanted to make that clear that if we had to do it, everybody else is going to have to do their water retention because it's going to flood everything in that area.
For sure, that's a fair question. And that would definitely be planning as far as water retention and percentages of permeable surfaces, that sort of thing. That wouldn't fall into us board.
Sure.
You have a valid question that I don't have the answer to about warehousing versus self-storage. I don't know. That's a question
Not that I'm trying. I know who they are and I'm fair with everything, but it's more of where are we at with this, because a warehousing is different from a self-storage. So if we're going to store vehicles, now we're getting a little more into gasoline, fuel, fire retention, all this stuff we got to look into. That's all I want.
My knee-jerk feeling is at the moment he's asking for a special exception for self-storage. If the plan that he puts forward to the planning board doesn't meet that definition, I would imagine that it would be amended or kicked back to this board. Correct? Am I correct on that? So what he's asking for is self-storage specifically. But he will have to go to planning. His driveway cuts, that's going to have to go to the DOT. That's going to have to go to planning. You know, he can't just put a driveway in without getting all those permits, that sort of thing.
This gentleman
Oh, I'm
wants to
sorry.
speak.
Thank you, members of the board. My name is Christopher Hunt. I'm from Northfield. Do I have permission to speak? This is concerning the storage facilities in the medium-density residential district, Noyes Road, off Noyes Road.
They're not going to be coming off Noyes Road. They're coming all off Route 3, Laconia Road. There's no entrance off of Noyes according to the plan.
Okay, so this is the agenda that's on Route 3.
Which case are we talking about? Is that what you're asking?
The second on the agenda.
We
That's
are
the one-
on the second one,
Yep.
correct? Yep.
Yeah, and there's no access off of Noyes Road according to this plan. They're strictly off of Route 3, Laconia Road.
So I don't have my agenda. So this is a E. Mitchell project?
Correct.
So I looked at the lots and it's in the highly density residential housing.
Hold on. Let me get some verification here for you.
There are 3 lots that are to be combined.
Right, and tonight we're not combining the 3 lots.
I understand, but
okay.
this is what we're talking about. Just one.
Yep.
So this is a completely residential area, and you're
Well, it abuts a residential area. I don't know that it falls in a residential area. Hold on. It is in the resort commercial district.
It's in resort commercial.
resort commercial.
And you got U-Haul there, and you used to have a welding shop on the corner of Noyes.
There is a neighborhood within the resort commercial district.
yes.
Is that what you're?
So this is a project, you go off Noyes Road and there's a lot of small little cabins and then there's 3 properties that are going to be.
This would be if you were in the Noyes Road neighborhood, between Noyes Road, that neighborhood, and Route 3, there's a vacant lot.
Right.
Up to my box, or
Between Noyes Road and me box, my box, I don't know how
So
you.
this is zoned medium density residential district.
Different area of Noyes Road.
Here's the thing.
Oh, okay.
If you look up in that corner of the RC, you'll see it's all in RC. You can see the 3 lots.
right there.
Yeah, right here.
Yep.
Or right up in there.
Those are all.
This is all in resort commercial, from
Yeah.
what I can tell.
Yep.
So this is medium
For that road.
density
over there.
residential district.
Here's Noyes Road coming off right here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's all I see.
Yeah.
These 3 lots.
Yeah.
Are we misunderstanding something, Pat? It looks like it's all resort commercial to me.
You're correct. You're correct, Matt. It's resort commercial, but there is a portion of Noyes Road that is medium density residential.
Okay, this doesn't show that on this map, but these lots are in the resort
Are in
commercial
resort commercial.
lot zoning.
That's not how I saw the zoning map today, but I may be mistaken.
We can show it to you if it'll help you feel better
Well, I
about it.
drove down Noyes Road and there's that small community of cottages that was built quite a while ago,
Yes,
30-something years ago. And it's all residential housing in there.
yes.
And you're proposing to put in a storage facilities.
I'm not proposing anything.
What they are, someone is. On the agenda, it's proposed.
Yes.
So the conflict there is residential housing with people that coming in the store that aren't within the it conflicts with residential housing. I would assume.
So the lot abuts a residential neighborhood, but it is a commercial lot. It is a zone for commercial development. So they could put an office building here and they wouldn't be here talking to us for zoning. He's only here because he wants to put self-storage in. So it's not that the lot wouldn't be developed. The lot can still be developed. It's just that this particular use needs a special exception.
It would be,
Because it's resort commercial.
it's not a variance.
This is not a variance, correct? This is a special exception.
So I think that there is a conflict when you disturb residential developments. When people live there, it's residential, and now you're having it, you're conflicting zones, even though you say it's zoned that way, but you're conflicting neighborhoods in that concept, where you have residential, people know each other, they walk their animals. It's a tight community. I mean, I drove through it. There's this afternoon. And it is a tight community, small, tight. You have a safety factor, and now you're having anonymous people utilizing storage facility. I don't know your requirements for hours or whatever, if that would be your prerogative. If you did grant a special exemption, to limit hours and types, you can limit everything with special exceptions. It's your, it's your privilege to put any requirements for a special exception. I just think it really conflicts with residential development to put a storage facility in. I don't know how many units, but you have people from, as you know, New Hampshire's people from everywhere are coming to New Hampshire. And you don't know where they're from, what they're storing. And it may make people that have lived there for a long, long time uneasy. And I don't know what hours you would want to dictate, if you wanted to dictate at all. But it just, storage and residential really are not compatible. There's other areas in your zoning that can facilitate for storage. I mean, you have U-Haul, and it's on the main road. It's not around residential. I just think there's a very real conflict between quiet, residential, peaceful communities. People know each other, and then all of a sudden, abutting to them is a large storage facility with unknowns to them, and may make them uncomfortable and not what they signed up for when they bought houses there.
Thank you.
I guess that's basically the gist of my comments. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Wes Kogelman. I own My Box Portable Storage, so I'm in a butter. My comments on this would be the driveway, exactly what you're saying. We come in and out of that road, and they are doing 50 miles an hour, and we're driving the big trucks. It's tough. They're not RVs. Another thing, when you're turning on, if you're heading toward Laconia, you're turning onto that road. I don't know if there's enough room to make that turn into, the variance what they have. So. Also, it's interesting that we're gonna have 3 portable storage places right next to each other. I mean, like obviously, I want to keep the competition out, right? But I just make a comment to that. That's kind of ridiculous. There's 3 of them stacked on top of each other. And I'll let you guys say that, but I just wanted to make a comment. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other public comment? Anybody online who wishes to speak? Doesn't look like it. I have one more question before we go to deliberation too. Yeah, awesome. What is the size of the right-of-way, of the railroad right-of-way between the neighborhood on Wolf Road and the start of your lot? What's the distance there? I have what you gave us here, but I don't see, it doesn't have distances for the right-of-way.
Let's get scale in the bottom. But...
So this is, I believe, 150 feet for the regular line. So it's probably.
You just got to use the microphone.
The right of way is maybe about 70 feet for the railroad,
70
60 feet,
for the railroad.
somewhere in that range. It is.
We're gonna try to measure here. Hold on.
Okay.
If I can find it.
Can maybe use
Where
the
am I?
scale here too.
I got a question too.
Yeah, go for it. I will.
Yeah,
sort this
John,
out.
So across the railroad.
on
Yeah,
each
like
of the
what is
structures,
this?
when I was
What is
looking
this?
at one of the maps that I had earlier, it had the distances, and I can't read it off of these, from those storage units all the way to what would be the abutters line. What is the least distance in there?
Yeah.
So there's a 20-foot side building setback to this lot. And we have the 20-foot. This one has 29 foot. This one has 34 foot. This one has 41 feet.
Just
So
using the scale here.
we're 34 feet from the building setback at the closest point. So we're about 54 feet.
Yes, yes. Looks like 100 feet to me.
Actually, this would be the shortest point right here. We would be basically 49 feet at the closest point to a property line with a building.
I have one question for you. Will
Yes.
this be a gated? They're gonna have to use a pass to get in, or is there gonna be fencing around it?
I don't know the answer to that right offhand, whether he's actually going to gate it. Some of his facilities are.
And that may be
It'll
more
it'll all
planning,
be it'll
but I
all
want-
be video surveillance. And to the point on the drainage, yes, this will be fully AOT permitted process. So all of the stormwater is going to have to meet a state permit to be able to move forward with this. And then in terms of the residential neighborhood, that's why we specifically did not put any access. So there isn't going to be anybody in this facility that is going to be ending up in the neighborhood in any way, shape, or form that I can tell. Because they're going to be coming in off of Route 3 and they're going to be leaving off of Route 3. So in terms of the site, it is in the resort commercial district. There's a lot of more intensive uses. I mean, we could put motels in here and have a swimming pool out back with people. I mean, there's a lot of different uses that are just allowed on this lot that could be developed.
Or you could put Freedom Honda.
Freedom Honda, yeah.
But I do see on your print here that you do have detention ponds, so you guys
Yep.
are well aware of what's
Oh, no,
required.
we do. And those are, I hope, very vastly oversized compared to what we would need. But I just want to make sure everyone knew there's plenty of room to do what we need to do with this.
So is the main building self-storage, or I forget who asked it. How does it work?
That, sorry, got both of them. That's going to have to be worked out in terms of the operation and how Al Mitchell wants to do it. I don't know exactly what his plan with that is yet. It would, whether he would have his own people stacking the vehicles in, would be the difference. I think people have the ability to come to their vehicle at any point once it's stacked in. So, I mean, it's self-storage in that way that they would have access to their vehicle during the winter to get to it. It'd be just a matter of how it gets moved in. And I don't know exactly how that classifies into self-storage versus warehousing. But my feeling is warehousing is if you have it stored in there and there's no access to, you're basically just paying somebody to store your vehicle and you don't have access to it at any point.
So is this a problem with the special exception?
I mean, we can do a special exception. If we grant a special exception for self-storage, then they will have the ability to put self-storage on the lot. They don't have to put self-storage, but self-storage is what they would be.
And when it goes to planning,
Yeah.
fire suppression, since there's gonna be vehicles and all that, that's gonna be planning.
Oh, got it.
Yep.
Is there any plan right now or any idea where you would have your bathroom facilities located, also a well and a septic system on the property?
In terms of where the bathroom facility would be, my best guess is right in this corner of this building. So everybody that's, throughout the site could come in this corner of the building. The septic would be basically just a H20 loaded system under the parking lot. And the well would be up in this area. I think on one of my concepts, I had shown a couple of those things. I didn't have it on this one. I apologize.
Not that far.
But there's definitely room on the site to have, it's basically just a 75-foot well radius. And it's basically a single family house size septic that we would have to do.
And there is generally, I believe in the town, there are requirements about where a septic system is located, especially in regard to both structures as well as from wetlands.
Yeah,
that's just a statement. So I
Okay.
don't know what you, but the other question I have is if your anticipated right of way turns out not to be what you have planned there, what would be the alternative plan for entering the property?
Wherever the state of New Hampshire is going to let us. I mean, there's obviously right at the tip of the hill, there's a driveway that's kind of cut. It's an old kind of rickety driveway, but it's it's cut in right at the tip of the hill. If we need to, if they say that's the only spot you're going in, then we have to rework the plan in some other configuration, but still self-storage.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Jim Cropsey, I believe there's still a well, that went off.
I just,
Oh.
You have to just
Be
bring it closer. Thank you.
Jim Cropsey, I believe that there is a well and septic on there from a house that had been at the top of this hill some 20 or so years ago that was demolished or burned. I remember removing some daffodils and stuff with permission from that site. I don't know if either of those items had been decommissioned, but I wanted you to be aware that if there is a well there, you may be able to use that well, or depending upon where your septic might be going, you may have to decommission that well.
Yep. No, if it's in the wrong spot, like where a building is, it would have to be cut off and capped with concrete and everything. So, yep.
Okay.
And the septic would have to be obliterated, like basically completely dug out if it's not.
If it hasn't been.
I can't imagine either one of them would be able to be used, incorporated into our plan, but
Okay.
we'll definitely look for them.
And the final note I have is that there's a significant gradient from the main road to the railroad tracks. So when it does get down to being planning board for approvals, the headlights, depending upon the hours of operation, could cross over to the railroad tracks to any houses that are there. And the railroad tracks being the way they are maintained, it's unlikely that there would be opportunity for shrubbery anywhere near the railroad tracks at the top of the embankment. The shrubs would have to be more at the bottom of the embankment and larger shrubs.
And I don't think they could go under the wires, right?
No.
Correct. So there is a good point. So there is an opening there for light penetration. Yeah.
Pat, I just have a little bit of a clarification on the process here. Are we granting, if we pass this, are we giving a special exception to 3 different properties? Because technically this is currently 3 different properties.
Yes, and then as a condition, has to be, the lots have to be merged.
Well, wouldn't it be 2 with the right of way? Because there's a right of way. There's only a right of way in.
No,
or an
there's-
No,
easement,
there's
sorry.
3 lots and
There's
then an
3
easement.
lots.
plus an easement.
There's one large lot, and then there's actually 2 separate lots.
Okay,
And then
got
an
it,
easement
got
on
it.
another lot.
Easement on the 4th. Got it.
Right,
So we would be granting this special exception to 3 separate lots.
Correct.
With the exception he's got to.
correct, with the condition that they
With
have
the
to
cap,
be
well,
merged.
we'd have to apply that condition.
Correct.
Yes. Yep. And that's what we're proposing. I mean, that's part of our application. So,
I just wanted to make sure that,
Yep.
we didn't pass this variant. If we
Yep.
passed this tonight and then you guys decided this wasn't a great project and we just allowed for storage units on 3 different lots, we're giving this to the land. We're not giving this to you. I
Yes,
just want to make sure that
correct.
our process, if we go through this and we pass this, is, I'm understanding it correctly.
Yep.
I think that you answered the question that I had, Jim, that what's the elevation between the railroad right of way? It's 100 feet of right of way is the distance between the backside of this, assuming that this line here is the far side of the railroad right of way. And then this other front line is your property line. It's 100 feet between those two. What's the elevation change between the railroad bed and the bottom and your grade there? If that question makes sense.
So from the railroad to the green.
From the railroad bed to the grade of the lot, what's the elevation change?
So I'm just looking at the existing contours that are showing up on the plan here. It looks like it goes up a decent amount.
I think it goes down, if I'm not mistaken, and that's what I guess I'm trying to.
If I may, I used the sewer invert for the manhole covers. Manhole covers being, I would believe, at grade. So you can look at those. They go from 524 feet down to the lowest one at 501 feet. Then the manhole on the other side of the railroad tracks is 487 feet.
Okay, I found this
Yeah,
487.
so if you look at this run right here, manhole is 524 right here.
Yep.
The middle one is 503, so it's about 20 feet there.
So it drops 20 feet down.
Yep, and then down here it's.
So it drops away again. Okay, I've
And then the rim
this wrong.
here is 501.
501,
So
okay.
from here to here is only.
So my understanding is correct. The relation of elevation for this parcel and Wolf Road is that the parcel is higher than Wolf
Yes.
Road is.
Yeah, because when you get down to this manhole, that's right on the railroad track, basically, you're at, your rim is at 487 compared to a rim of 501 here.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more questions. I don't know if anyone else does.
I'm all set.
Good. All right. Any more public comment?
Warehousing or self-storage?
I'm not particularly concerned about that in the context of the application to put self-storage on this lot. Tonight, we're talking about whether we would allow the use of self-storage on this lot. They'd have to go to planning to then sort out whether their actual intended use on this particular building was warehousing or not. So I think it's a legitimate question. I don't think that this is the place that it gets answered. I don't know if anyone else disagrees with me here.
There's a chance they would have to come back to switch it to warehouse if
They would, yeah, we didn't
Right.
grant warehousing.
Right. Well, yeah. They're putting in for
it is warehouse.
self-storage.
Yeah, our job is just to answer, is that allowed?
But honestly, I'm in an industry.
You could be true. I'm not doubting that at all.
There's a little trickery in some type of form when people utilize. What I'm going against, obviously, like my box says I have competitor. I need to understand what they're actually.
So if he did that and that was considered warehousing, then he would be in violation of what we have allowed tonight, if we choose to pass it, would be the answer to that. Yeah. All we're talking about tonight is whether or not self-storage would be allowed on this particular lot. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Everybody good if we close public comment and go to deliberating? I learned in my class the other day that once we move to deliberation, we can't talk back and forth with the applicant and the public anymore. Okay. So is everybody good with that?
That's correct.
Everybody got all their questions answered? Cool.
Yep.
All right, we're going to close public comment and begin deliberations. Any first thoughts?
My concern is the neighborhood. Well, really two concerns, the driveway and the neighborhood, but I think the driveway is less of a concern. I think there is enough space after that big corner to where that's reasonable. But yeah, as far as the neighborhood goes, I don't think they'll be able to plant anything because of the telephone wires.
Underneath that right away.
They'd have
correct?
this band that they couldn't.
At least a window.
And if the state of New Hampshire has 100-foot right of way through there, it's probably not cleared 100 foot anymore. So there's, over the years, it's probably grown in. So there's probably trees
Within it.
Yeah. Because it's probably only 25, 30 feet now, not big enough for the train to get through.
Yeah.
So there may be trees in that.
In the right of way.
In the right of way.
Right.
The state probably doesn't have it cleared 100-foot wide.
You mean from the railroad?
Yeah, the railroad.
Okay.
Yeah, where the overhead tension wires go over the railroad.
Right.
Because that would be lower than the railroad.
Got it.
Yeah. But the whole, if there is a state of New Hampshire right of way through there for the railroad of 100 feet, the whole 100 feet is probably not cleared now.
It probably exists with some blockage.
It's probably
with
some
the potential that
blockage
it
there.
could be cut back. Right. I agree with Steve. The driveway is a concern. I think that the driveway becomes a self-answering question because the state is going to tell them that in order to put a driveway here, this is where it has to go.
He needs a turn lane.
and
He
this is
needs
what it has
this.
to
He
look
needs
like.
X amount of line of sight for
And
the driveway.
And
But
I think
the
that's
state.
also a planning board issue, not really our issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
It's one that they're going to say where it can go, and then they're going to be able to decide whether they can do this project.
And if
based
the
on where
state wants
driveway
it here, then they have to submit another plan,
That's another site plan.
another site plan.
Right.
I guess my only concern, and I don't think it really has anything to do with our approval on this, but there's an application for another self-storage down around the corner. Then there will be U-Haul, then there will be this one, and then you have my box, and it turns out to me like the entire neighborhood, and as I understand it, there's a possibility of another parcel coming into us shortly for another self-storage unit. And I personally am opposed to turning this into nothing but a self-storage area. However, I do believe his questions have all been answered, and I guess we have to go, my opinion is that we have to go along with allowing self-storage.
Yeah, fortunately, there is no precedent. So just by approving this site does not mean that we are obligated to approve another site, even if that next door site is abutting it. I agree with you personally that I don't particularly like this particular use of the land, but everybody has a right to use their land. And I agree with Chuck that he's met the questions for a special exception.
Yeah, and fortunately or unfortunately for the competition, the neighborhood is now a self-storage unit neighborhood.
That made it a self-storage neighborhood.
It's not single-family houses or waterfront cabins. It's or resort, really. It's maybe a supports resorts by having self-storage for people's excess items.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait for a motion.
Let's just move through the criteria if everybody's okay with that. We'll just read them and then just make an agreement, and then we can make a motion at the end. The specific site and its appropriate location for such a use. Anybody want to speak to it? Sure. It is an appropriate location to me. It's on a major drag. It is in our commercial area. It's a commercial use. I don't think that it's an unreasonable use. No factual evidence is found that property values in the district will be reduced due to incompatible land use by such use. Anyone want to speak to it?
I'm trying to find where you're at.
Sorry, I'm in the application. It has the criteria for this special exception. I'm right on. Yep, right in here.
Yeah, I can read that one.
You don't have to read it. We're just speaking to it. Does everybody agree that we've met it?
Yeah.
Oh, so it must be. I don't seem to have that. But or backside in the fine print.
Yeah, no, I think self-storage does work well in that lot. You got it everywhere else in that area, unless you want to.
We're talking about the factual evidence that property values in the district will be reduced.
11.
Yeah.
Okay.
11.4.3.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. There is no demonstrable evidence here tonight that property values will be changed. 11.4.4. There's no valid objection from the abutters based on demonstrable fact. This is the only one where I think I'd like to see us, I don't know how we do it, and I don't know if planning can do it. I'd like to see us put in a vegetation buffer along the backside of that property lot. It's not, there is a gap in it where the power lines pass, but I think that it'll help break it up. I don't know.
There may be something with Eversource too, where it's like ornamental grasses or something like that are allowed, and those can get up to 8-10 feet.
I don't think it'll take a ton of height to block headlights. Now, I understand the concern. My only other kick on this is that they could build something else here and people would be driving their headlights in there, and there is no variance or special exception. So I understand the concern, but it isn't like that couldn't happen on this property if it got developed into something else.
No, so I think on that one there that if we do approve it or making we should, vegetation buffer should be included in that.
Yeah. I will add that the Eversource is in the problem process right now of replacing all of the power lines all the way to Silver Lake from Franklin. And they were, as a matter of fact, at the Conservation Commission meeting last night, and they are going in and they are actually putting in wherever there are wetlands, timbers down where they will work, and there will be some land clearing. So there's no guarantee that under their right of way that we could insist that any kind of vegetation be put in there. As a matter of fact, they are even putting in some gravel roads within their right of way, which could very well be under the power line on this property. just to make that clear.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
We couldn't ask
No.
Eversource to do
Agreed.
anything into their right away, for sure.
But going to your comment, Matt, I think we could put a restriction on, if I might be wrong, that if they disavow this special exception, that they would still have to come back to ourselves for any other use for the property.
Not as long as it was within the zoning ordinance, as long as it was within a use of the resort commercial, they wouldn't have to come.
Well, I'm
before the
specifically thinking of the warehousing.
If it was warehouse, I guess what I meant by I understand the concern of headlights is what I was getting at.
Okay.
The thing that catches me is that it's not like this would remain undeveloped land.
No.
And so therefore headlights would never happen.
Right.
The land can be developed. So are we asking something, the use of storage units doesn't create headlights that other uses wouldn't create, I guess is I'm thinking.
Well, it's possible with hours, if you did
we could restrict hours, something we could do as a board.
Potentially, we've done it before. If you restrict hours of operation, that may also affect things too.
Sure.
And assist with the abutters, the headlights, and operations.
I think that would be a planning board issue.
Hours?
Yeah.
I think so.
Can we?
And lighting.
I mean,
I think we can recommend it, but I don't.
Yeah, I can't tie it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Are we good? Everybody content there?
Yep.
No nuisance or hazard is involved. Or nuisance or hazard is involved.
Oh, actually, one other thing about the vegetation barrier. Can we put in some sort of length or width or something like that?
Unless my understanding is
presumably
incorrect.
it's going to change the plans because there's the retention ponds or detention ponds.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, they might have to
Yeah.
lose a building. That's not.
Right.
There may very well be vehicles in any number of these buildings. If someone were to rent a 10 by 20 and be able to fit a vehicle, and I'm assuming they might if it has those overhead doors. And so the only question, and I don't know that there's an answer to this because we're not in that session, but any kind of fire suppression within each of the buildings or all the buildings or some of the buildings.
It has to do with square footage where fire suppression comes in. I couldn't speak to it exactly.
Okay, thank
what
you.
it is. I couldn't speak to that.
Yeah.
No, because with vehicles, you're going to have fuels.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No nuisance or hazard is involved. No, I mean, this is not a particularly noisy operation.
No.
No.
You can't store hazardous materials and that kind of thing. They're not generating chemicals. Adequate and appropriate facilities were provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. Anyone want to speak to it? They're putting in wells,
The
putting in a
drainage.
septic system.
Retention ponds.
Detention ponds, yeah.
Train permit. In the hand, yep.
Any motions?
Oh boy, you got stuff written down there.
I can make one. Yeah.
Because we got a couple conditions and.
So the things we've been talking about here is a vegetation buffer. We haven't put any sort of numbers around that. A recommendation to the planning board on hours of operation, and then making it contingent on the lot merger.
And we don't have to say anything about warehouse or self-storage because they're coming in for self-storage.
Correct. All right, I'll make a motion here. I'll make a motion that we approve a special exception from case, let me try the right number here.
24-5.
24-5, with the conditions of a 20-foot vegetation buffer between the rear setback and the from the rear setback along the railroad right of way. A recommendation to the planning board to consider hours of operations and contingent on the merging of the 3 lots within, what do we want to say? Like 6 months, a year?
Months, fine.
6 months?
Well, it could take them.
Could take them longer.
Hold on, I made the motion. We
It
gotta
could take them.
wait. We gotta second the motion before it gets discussed.
Okay.
So I made it for 6 months, 20-foot buffer from the rear setback, hours of operation recommendation to planning, and contingent on lot merger within 6 months.
We don't need to specify here to make sure that it's purely for self-storage, right?
Just for the sake of doing this, we have to make a second on that motion to discuss it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Seconded by Chuck. Maybe Pat, you could provide some guidance for us. My understanding is that if it's warehousing, that would fall into a separate bucket, and he would not be allowed to do this based on what we are proposing tonight.
I'm not familiar with it, just as you are not, but I can find out and get back. I think it would null and void your motion because this is based on storage,
Self-storage.
self-storage.
Would it be appropriate to make sure that we include for self-storage in the motion?
We can. I don't know if it's redundant. I don't know, because it's an application for self-storage.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
So I think it covers that.
Okay.
Maybe we put a little asterisk in here to make sure that planning takes a close look at it to make sure that what's being proposed is actually self-storage. Anybody good or want changes on the 20-foot buffer? I feel like that's a reasonable vegetation buffer to set up.
Yep.
Allow for
Yeah.
growth in there. They obviously can't do it under the right of way.
Right.
They can't touch the vegetation for 20 feet off of that. So
Is this off the railroad side and off of Noise Road?
the motion is only off of the rear setback or off of the rear lot line. So it wouldn't be
railroad.
Noise Road. It would be the back lot. Everybody good with 6 months? I think that's a reasonable amount of time to make up their minds and either come back or.
So Matt, the 6 months would be to make up their minds, not necessarily to have permitting in place.
They have 6 months to merge the lots.
Just merge the lots.
Right.
Okay, I thought that was getting permits too. I thought that might be a little tight. 6 months for merging the lots, I'm good with that.
I think that gives them enough time to decide that this is what they're doing and then merge the lots.
It does.
Commit to it.
Agree.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is everybody ready to vote?
Reread it, please.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a motion to approve. I lost the stupid number then.
24-5.
24-5. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget it. To approve case 24-05, the special exception for self-storage on 355 Laconia Road properties with a 20-foot vegetation buffer from the rear lot line, contingent on lot mergers within 6 months from passing the special exception, and an hour of operation recommendation to planning board. All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. It passes. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Oh, yeah. I missed that too. Okay. Case 24-06, Haven Grove special exception. I don't have the paperwork for the special exception.
This one here.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Probably need that.
Just looking for 2 cents. So exception, variance.
Yeah.
Test. Yep.
right here. We're just doing hold on. That's
This one?
we're just doing this one now.
Okay,
Yep.
got it, got it.
All right. Everybody
We'll
good?
switch it to the invite.
Fee starts? You good? Ready for Chuck? Ready to
Yep,
start?
right.
Yep. Good to go.
Good. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. My name is John Bernard. I am here to propose a self-storage unit. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but it seems kind of funny that I'm coming in right after them, but this was one of my fallback positions on this. And what I'm proposing right now is 2 buildings comprising of approximately 60 units right now. There may be a little bit more if we get rid of the end units and make them some smaller. So when I'm asking for the approval, I would like it to be up to 90 units within the 2 buildings. Each building is approximately 6,000 square feet. We have heard a lot of people talking about a problem with the exit coming out of this property at 246 Laconia Road. So we purchased 232 next door for the exit of the driveway. We also show up here, we have the 2 state driveway permits. For the first thing we got approved for was a boat storage, and I went back to them with a self-storage plan, and they did approve it for that, even though the second one says boat storage. They just didn't carry that forward. I called them today. They'll look into it and take care of it tomorrow. So this is a 50-acre site. Approximately a half acre of land will be used for this. And again, we haven't done all the engineering. We show a proposed retention pond here. It may change if we are lucky enough to get through the special exception and get this approved, then we'd go into more engineering and spend more time on the project and more money on it. The other thing I'd like to talk about is that when we're making a decision if this should be in a special exception, a good use for the property or not, the first thing is 11.4.1, which says this site is appropriate due to the fact that it's located on a major road and there are likely kind business in the area, which we all just heard what we're talking about. This will be the 4th one, I guess, in that little area if Al Mitchell goes forward. And we know the large one that's going up for U-Haul. And we also have My Box, which is in the area. It's what the zoning will allow us to do through special exception. And so the property values will not be reduced. They are mostly commercial uses right now around my entire property of 50 acres. It's almost all commercial. We have the Wilmington Veterinarian, we have the U-Haul, we have the golf course, and Nickerson's Industrial is the majority of the abutters. There's another 25 acres that abuts us, which is under conservation easement. 11.4.4, it is highly unlikely that any demonstrable facts from abutters that are valid due to the fact that the surrounding land is mostly used as commercial at this time. And 11.4.5 is a self-storage is considered a low impact by DOT of New Hampshire. No hazard materials will be allowed to be stored in the site. And I'd just like to talk a little bit about uses of property. When you go to the DOT, they have different classifications. And one of the most difficult one is a convenience store, which has the highest impact, regardless of the size of it. And this is one of the lowest ones that they have. People have storage units. They come, once a week, once a month, so it's a very low impact. That's my presentation. I'm open for any questions, or anything else I can help you with. Any questions?
You said the buildings were 9,000 square feet?
No, 6.
Oh, sorry, 6,000 square feet,
Correct.
and there were going to be 9 units in each building?
Nope, 60 in each building.
60?
60 units in each building,
60.
15 on each side, so 30 units in each building. But we may end up with a few more because on the end units, what they like to do when they design them, they put in little small ones, like almost like closet type of units that you can rent. So
60 total units?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
On 6,000 square feet?
Each building 6,000 square feet.
12,000 square feet?
But 2, 6,000 each one.
12,000 square feet for
Right.
60 units?
Yep.
With a road in
These
the middle.
units are 20 by 10 and 15 by 10.
Is looking at your site plan there, that lot on the bottom, kind of bottom right, is that the vet hospital, Tilton Vet Hospital? Is that what that piece of property is?
So this one right here on the bottom right is actually, I'm not sure what to call it. They are mixing loam on it right now.
Oh, the landscape spot.
Landscape.
Okay,
Landscape.
the landscape place.
Yeah.
Okay.
And DOT.
And the veterinarian, she's over here.
Okay.
She's present here.
Just getting my.
And DOT's giving you a
Spatial reference.
permit for that driveway that's there now?
That one and this one. I have both. And they're both right here. The town already has them too. I just brought them into.
John, on the, this section right here where that is that kind of like a separate lot? I mean, that area where this is being planned, what's the total square footage of that general area? I assume that's going to be secondary to the balance of your property, which you have other plans for.
I do, right. So this is 20,000 square feet, about half acre.
Oh, half acre.
Half acre.
And the buildings equal 12,000 square feet.
Correct.
Total impermeable area?
I believe in this area, you're
Yeah.
entitled to 60% coverage.
Yes.
60% coverage of what? The lot?
Of the lot.
But
yeah.
the lot is a 30-acre lot, correct?
50.
50 acre
50 acre
lot.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, this to me is probably not the highest and greatest use for it. I mean, we have a bunch of self-storage, but you know, I've been approached to put a hotel in here. That doesn't really do it for me. Self-storage is great, but you know, as everybody knows, I came and went with a warrant article and tried to get some housing in here with a mixed use below, and that didn't go. So we go back to fallback plans. I mean, land is going to get developed. We can't prevent it. It's just a matter of what we do with it and what's the best use for the town and the developer. The developer has to make
Any
it
other
work.
questions for him? No? Any public comment?
Brian from U-Haul, I'm good, thank you. So I didn't hear the beginning part, so I went to the bathroom. I didn't hear what you were applying for.
Applying for a special exception for self-storage.
Great. So you own the property. He owns the property, I'm assuming, behind U-Haul.
Correct.
All right. So we've spent a lot of money investing in our property and drainage and everything. I didn't know this might not be with you, but I'm going to add this to you and your
Then you
owner.
gotta do it.
Yep.
through
I'm
here.
going to do it directly.
No, do it this way, and then we'll direct questions.
All
to
right,
him.
cool. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So the minute they started cutting trees and everything and all the money we invested in our drainage, they screwed up a lot of our drainage. So everything started coming down off the hill pretty bad. And when we go to start cutting some of these trees around, I know we're the first really kind of decent development around there. I'm worried about the veterinarian place. I'm worried about everything around there because we were secluded a little bit from everybody. We had our own building. Now everybody else starts cutting trees all around us, and all of a sudden everything we got approved for is getting overrun, and I have to invest more money and time to fix my drainage issues now because I'm ahead of them. So there's a major issue going on where people need to understand before we start cutting all these trees and start realizing what's going on. Just because I'm there, I've invested to my building. Now we start approving all this stuff, start cutting here, and then the road starts getting flooded more. I'm just a little curious on how much, we're investing into that time. I know it probably has nothing to do with you. You're here for zoning. Totally get it. But I'm going to state my opinion just in case I don't get the letter to come to planning. I'm going to be really clear on that. I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time, but I was given, the staple and what we need to do to get to what we need to. Now I want to make sure everybody else gets that staple the same exact way because it's affected me in certain ways. So I don't know if you're the owner or you're the civil, whatever, regardless, it hit me pretty hard the minute we started, torrential, destroyed half my vegetation that I had to replant. So I just want to state that there before I do anything.
Yeah, that is a site development planning that falls to planning board. Usually that kind of stuff has to get taken into consideration because, any lot anywhere could change on the abutting lots. So I can't speak to that specific case and why those things happen. But that sort of thing, drainage and water runoff gets covered in site plans the planning board.
I might not be there that day because sometimes things get lost in my company. So I want to make sure.
Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I just first wanted to clarify
You just got to come up to the mic and state who you are and what where you're from, all that stuff.
I'm Sarah Leroux. I own Tilton Veterinary Hospital, and I'm just trying to clarify, are we talking about specifically the special exception right now?
We
or
are
the
talking only
variance?
the special exception
Okay.
for storage, self-storage units.
I think that there's a difference because the property that he was speaking of, as well as mine, have been impacted significantly by the tree cutting. The building that you're talking about now is separated with the landscape company.
It is not technically separated because it's all one lot.
Okay.
So,
Well, I have the exact same concerns. I have spent a lot of money in the last year trying to reroute all the new water coming down into my property. I've had flooding in my basement. I've had to build a new trench around the whole hospital to try to divert water. I had a ice skating rink across my parking lot all winter that I couldn't do anything about because it was just every time I put salt down to melt it, it would just freeze over again because of all the new water coming down the hill. So I have the exact same concern.
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone online? Any other questions for him?
I'm looking for, how many units?
It's 60. Oh, sorry.
60.
Again, I'll say this, it could be some more because on the end units, if you take those away and you put little ones in on the end, which when I send this to the planning, they may suggest that I put some smaller ones in there.
But no more than two buildings.
2 buildings, that's it. 2 buildings, no more than 2. I'll come back to you again if we do something more at some point in the future. I'm just getting my feet wet in this business. I don't.
50 acres there. Oh.
Yeah. Any other questions for him? No? All right. You guys good if we close public comment and go to deliberation? Everybody on board? All right. We'll close public comment and begin deliberating. Any initial thoughts? I think I'm right on track with where you were going, Brian. I think that we should, if we make a motion to approve this, my feeling is that we confine it to 2 buildings because this is we're not granting a special exception on the number of units. We're granting a special exception on the use of self-storage, and this is a 50-acre lot.
So they could do
So
25
technically,
acres of storage.
you could do 50 acres of self-storage, assuming that he met all of the coverage and all that kind of thing.
My comment to that would be that he's only.
We can't ask him questions.
No, that he's only indicating on that plan, which we do not have, that a certain area is being used for this. And it's just one corner of that property. So rather than specifying just 2 units or 2 buildings.
Square footage?
I would say that square footage and whatever planning board decides is appropriate considering the wetlands involved or the watershed that's involved that we're hearing and other considerations.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Contingent on 2 buildings with no more than, what do we say?
I'll say 100. Yeah, no more than
Square footage.
square footage, no more than 12,000 square feet would work.
That were there. Because if planning wants more units, they have to fit it in that size building.
Right. And I think that kind of maintains the intent of his plan here. Just hypothetically speaking, we approve this tonight. He sells his land tomorrow, and somebody puts in a gigantic self-storage because we allowed
with 100
self-storage on a 50-acre lot.
And another consideration I would have is that it would be sent to conservation for review of the water coming off of the site.
Yeah, I would imagine if it affected that, it should have gone to conservation anyways, but sure, we can.
Well, I don't think he had any permits when he did all of the land clearing. It was cut without any building permits. So it's just a logging issue. It's not a development issue.
Right. You wouldn't have to go get a permit to log.
Yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to talk, but that's not entirely true.
Okay, I would.
We're just supposing.
Yep.
So
I do think, Jim, though, that what is the runoff from the upper territory is not part of this particular thing. And so I'm not sure that that's necessary at this point. That is something that should be dealt with but I'm not sure that we can do anything. We can't, the Conservation Commission can't insist on anything either.
Well,
Because this is just the
no.
lower piece.
just on that lower piece, what's being proposed is on I believe it's a 20,000 square foot area, is to have 12,000 square feet of buildings plus associated paved impermeable area. So I don't know what that entails. It could be 18,000 of 20,000 square feet. So that's my concern, would be that's a significant amount of runoff even for that highway.
Pat, would what we're talking about kick in a notification to conservation through planning in if their process was going to cover too much? Are we getting lost in the weeds here for something that's going to get covered?
We usually notify planning of something that comes up that concerns conservation.
Okay.
I mean, notify conservation when something comes up with planning.
Okay, so this will loop back through. They'll be cut. Okay.
I could be wrong, but we voted to not get all the emails, but I think conservation still gets emails from every board, right?
All of the applications.
That's correct.
I think we do, yes.
Correct.
Okay, so
So conservation's already aware this project has been proposed.
Right.
Okay. Any motions?
We don't have anything.
We had the 12,000 square feet is what we kind of discussed.
I'll make a motion to approve 24-6 Haven Grove, 246 Laconia Road, with the conditions of no more than 2 buildings, total of 12,000 square feet. And that's it. That's it.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Seconded by Steve. Any discussion on it? I think we kind of discussed it to the point when we deliberated on it. Everybody good to vote? Yep. All right. Those in favor of approving the special exception for case 24-0x6 with the condition of no more than 12,000 square feet of storage units, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It passes.
Thank you.
And I think you're staying up here for 24-07?
Well, I actually have Steve next who will do a better presentation than I will, so.
That's good.
We defer to him.
Actually, can I ask for a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, for sure. We just split them here. Yeah. I can lean over and.
Is this the? No, does not have the. It doesn't have the.
What?
It just has a storage
no,
unit.
just yeah.
No.
Is there a second one? No.
Yes.
We have a small version of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have this big one.
We have that version.
Bigger lot. I would
Yeah.
not say that.
Better.
There.
So there's is there a parking lot on that one that's not on this one?
Yeah, maybe that's a separate. Oh, you know what? It was boat storage. That's probably the boat
That's
storage.
what. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Larger piece.
The housing, you mean?
Yeah, okay.
the 20,000 square foot section.
Right, right.
This looks like it's gonna be maybe 80,000 square feet, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I've never stored anything in my life. This is all your shit.
Ready whenever you are.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Stephen. My name is Stephen Nix. I'm an attorney representing Haven Grove and John Bernard. We have heard what the abutters have been talking about regarding drainage. There was a letter. There's also a letter in the file that came in that we saw regarding a couple of other items, including the DOT permits. And we believe at this point that it would be better if we were to ask that this be continued to the next meeting so we can have an opportunity to bring more information in to address the issues, some of the issues that the abutters have. And if the board is willing to let them sort of, if there's other issues that we need to know about that we can address, instead of trying to do it sort of ad hoc here standing tonight, that we can go talk to our engineers, go talk to DOT, and there's a couple other items that, were brought up that we could bring more information in.
I'm good with that. I would ask, would you be open to, or would the applicant be open to a site visit for the zoning board between now and the continuation?
That's your right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think you actually have to allow us. I don't think we can force ourselves on there. So if that's something you guys are open to, I think it would be beneficial.
Yeah, it would be a scheduled time.
A scheduled
Yes.
time. Yeah, it would be a notice
Yeah,
meeting.
it'll be a notice meeting. Right.
Right.
That
works in my favor. Okay. Do we take a minute here to come up with some times and dates that work for people? We need to have 2 weeks notice, right, Mike?
And while you're doing that, I've got Sarah's contact information, but I don't have yours. If I could get your contact.
June 18th is the next meeting. They have to have their information to us by 5/31.
5/31. But if we were going to meet before that, we have to give 2 weeks of notice, correct?
Right.
Or is it a week of notice?
It's I think it's 10 days.
10 days. Okay.
To get a thin mailing out, I could.
Okay, so we got to make sure we give you guys a chance to have 10 days to notice it.
You can just make the announcement online.
John?
I apologize.
Even if we're scheduling a site visit?
I'm sorry.
Notice those.
I don't think the site visit has to be public.
I think it does because the entire, well, we'll have to get some clarification because the entire board's there.
Site plan has to be on the agenda, has to be noticed.
Noticed and as an agenda,
Correct.
that's what we're doing. So we have to provide
Correct.
time and notification for that, I
Correct.
believe.
I can already see there's a time crunch.
Well, we're just trying to get it for you before the next meeting.
Well, what we were going to say is why don't we go to the July meeting, which would give enough time for notice and everybody to figure out the schedule.
Okay. Do you want to add a site visit to June's meeting? before the meeting.
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
Does that work for everybody?
5 o'clock. What day in June?
It's
Oh,
it'd be
it's in June.
Tuesday, the 18th.
Tuesday, the 18th. Okay.
Or do you want to do, we could do the meeting, right, come and do the meeting on the 18th after the site walk?
We could, yes.
Is that what you're, okay.
Yes. We're trying to schedule a site visit prior to the June 18th meeting.
Okay.
So that we'd do another meeting at the site prior to the regularly scheduled zoning board meeting. That gives them a month to notice it and provide all of the right stuff, if that works for everybody.
If we're talking, you talking about July?
June.
Well,
June
the problem with that is that we have to have information in by the 21st.
You have to have it in by the 31st.
By the 31st, and that would be 10 days. That wouldn't be
May
enough.
31st, right.
Right.
Can we just push it all to July? But I'll meet whenever you guys want to. I don't mind with that.
Can we do the site visit on June 18th
that works.
and continue to
Yeah,
the
that
July
works.
meeting? Does that work?
That works.
And do we have a time? 5 o'clock.
Right, that'll give us enough time to be there, come back here and be back here for 6 o'clock.
Should give us enough time, yeah.
Yeah.
So a site visit on June 18th, and then July 16th would be your next meeting with us, and you have to have the information in by June 28th.
Yeah, that works.
Do we have a motion to continue ZB 24-07 to July 16th? Make a motion. Motion's been made and seconded.
Okay.
Those in favor of continuing ZB case 24-07 to July 16th, vote aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, so that passes. Do we need to make a motion to have a meeting before the meeting on the 18th? Okay, are there any
I think
motions?
you just need to agree that it's a site visit, and then we have to go through the process of posting it.
So we just agree, we don't have to vote on it, all that?
That's correct.
Okay, so we all agree to meet at 5 o'clock on the 18th
Yes.
5 p.m. on the 18th, yeah.
of June.
There, not here.
And then we
Correct.
just need to
At the
post
site.
it in 3 places.
Okay.
18th, 5 o'clock.
Okay, site visit, we gotta do,
Was about this.
we gotta do.
So it's at 246 Laconia Road?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, yes. Site visit at 246 Laconia Road at 5 p.m.
You can handle that without me?
Yes.
Bring your
Okay.
boots.
So that is, all we have left is approval of two meeting minutes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming
it.
in.
Thank you.
I'd like to move approval for February.
All right, we
I'll
got
second.
a motion made and seconded to approve the February 20th of 2024 minutes. Any discussion on it?
Nope.
Nope. Those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
So we approved February 2024. We have to do March 19th of 2024. Have a good night. That's February. This is March, okay.
Yeah.
Of motions.
I make a motion to approve the March 19th, 2024 minutes.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to approve March 19th meeting minutes. Any discussion on it?
I was not at this one. Am I allowed to vote if I wasn't there?
It would be courtesy to abstain from the vote.
Okay.
All right, those in favor, vote aye, or vote, however.
Aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it, so that passes also. Anyone have anything else we covered?
I take this with me, and
No.
I'd be glad to drop it off at your house. Or
Yeah, we got another one here,
That's
unless
fine.
they want it
Yeah.
back.
take a
Yeah.
good look at that.
Yeah.
Would you like to take this one?
I'll make sure to bring this in.
I would rather not.
You're going to
Would
drop
rather
it back
not.
off?
A little large.
I
have a
you
small
want to
here.
leave it here in town
I'll
offices?
go on to it.
Yeah,
One-
whichever.
one- Okay,
There's two.
There's two of them.
there's two of them, so we could leave
But
one
whatever you
here.
want. Yeah. whichever.
Those are our copies to the file?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
We'll
the
take
file
them from you.
copies, okay, then they're going to the file.
He
Yeah,
wants to keep one.
he's going to bring it back. He's going to bring it back. We know where he lives.
You know where he lives.
Everybody,
You'd like to speak, sir?
Chairman, did you continue this application to the sidewalk?
We
To the sidewalk?
scheduled a site visit And then we also continued the meeting to 2 months from now.
July.
Well, this meeting, you continued it,
Correct.
so it's going to continue at the sidewalk.
No.
Well, that's what,
No.
how it works.
No, you just continued case number, you just continued the case,
To July.
not the meeting. He's talking, did you continue the zoning board meeting?
Oh, no,
to
we've not
Ju-
continued the zoning board meeting. We've continued ZB case 24-07
7, correct.
to July.
But a sidewalk is
Just
not a continuation of this meeting.
It's
No.
a
No,
continuation of the case 07.
correct. It's a continuation of that case.
Right, which is a meeting in itself.
Correct. It is a meeting.
So you continue the meeting to the sidewalk.
I think we're getting a little bit lost in semantics here. We are going to meet as a zoning board for a site walk in June.
Which is a continuation of this meeting. So you don't have to
No.
apprise the abutters because it's a continuation of this meeting.
It's a continuation of
You're lost in the
24-07 case, and the zoning board is going to meet at 246 Laconia Road, and they do not have to notice the abutters for that. And then in July, the case 24-07, which is continued from tonight, will meet again here at 6 o'clock.
So the sidewalk is a public meeting,
Correct.
Correct.
a continuation of this meeting.
Not of this meeting, just of that case. They're not going to talk about anything else but that case only.
Right, the sidewalk. Continuation of this application is at the sidewalk,
Yes.
which is a public meeting.
I believe you're correct. I think we're getting a little bit lost in semantics here, but
No,
I guess what is the point you're trying to make?
Well, you continue this meeting to a sidewalk. Means no more further discussion until the continuation of the meeting.
Of that case, correct?
And sidewalk is a public meeting, open to the public. It doesn't have to be notified because you've been notified. It's a continuation. Those that are here present, listening to it, they know that the continuation of the meeting is at the sidewalk.
Okay.
Public invited.
Okay. What are you trying to tell us?
I was just I didn't understand why you thought there were two different meetings.
I think there was some confusion on us that this meeting is ending, but the case is continuing. A little bit of definition confusion.
So you continue the meeting to the sidewalk.
We've continued the case to the sidewalk.
This application.
Correct.
Sure.
Yep.
I think we're understanding.
Of which the public will be notified of the sidewalk.
Right.
Correct.
You can't re-notify the public, but you actually don't have to because anytime you continue a meeting.
We'll have to reference it and sort out the answer to that question. I don't have the information available to me now to, I think, adequately answer what you're saying.
Yeah, it's sort of basic. I don't think I'll be available at that. This being a variance, I mean, you understand.
It's not a variance.
Sir, could you just speak into the mic again, who you are and where you're from? Are you a resident or?
No.
No, I'm a Northfield. May I speak?
I-
Northfield resident.
What is the point you're trying to tell us?
Well, I was trying to clarify the continuation part.
The board will be meeting again
Yeah,
before the zoning board on June 18th about this case.
Right.
That's about all that's all I'm knowledgeable and prepared to answer, I
Right.
guess, at this point.
Because there's a lot of discussion on this hardship.
We're not
I'm being a-
we're not talking about that right now. We're done discussing that case, so
In general, just, I mean, the board is aware, and you should read up if you're not. Hardship. Hardship means there is no other plausible use for a property.
the state Supreme Court has actually ruled that that's not the application of hardship anymore, but
Well,
we don't have to
There are
discuss this.
caveats, but Tilton, I didn't read where Tilton has set out aside their own caveat, so.
The town of Tilton hasn't set out its side. The New Hampshire Supreme Court has a court ruling where they redefined what hardship was, and you can reference that. But I think that we're probably muddying the waters of continuing discussion on a case that we've moved. So I'm as long as everybody's on board with this, I think I'm going to end this discussion.
Mhm.
Everybody
That's
okay with
fine.
that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the
Thank you for
opportunity
coming.
to speak.
I'd like to move we adjourn.
Oh, we still, don't you want to talk about the books?
What to talk about?
Is it just citing that we have the books?
Yes,
Oh.
just that we passed them out to you and
Okay, then I second Chuck's motion.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, oh.
the time being, please, the secretary has asked us that when you adjourn, please say the time being so that she can record it. Thank you.
Okay. A motion has been made.
7:48 PM, I move we adjourn.
Chuck has made a motion to adjourn. Seconded?
I
Still
second.
seconded.
Seconded. Any discussion on it? Those in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion passes. The meeting's adjourned at 7:42. I have 19 on my phone. It's making it hard. I have to catch up with you about puppy training. Yeah. Yes, yes. And my older dog is very successfully took some time.